Hello, hello. Good morning. Thank you all for being here with us today in another session of White Space Accounting, what we call the Simpler Innovation uh, newsletter and broadcasting media company, if you want to call it that way. Just to give you a little bit of an introduction, all over the week we have been discussing through our social media what are the signals to start identifying the the best places to start spotting innovation opportunities that will signify revenue in the first place for your company, for your organizations. Okay, so in this brief session today, we're gonna comment uh, on a more structured way what we have been discussing throughout the week, and hopefully, I'll give you um, a very easy and simple framework for you to start spotting these opportunities that I just mentioned. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, welcome. Thank you very much. Say hello to us, wherever you are joining from. If you have a comment, any question, an idea, just feel free to drop it in the chat box, and I'll keep an eye for your comments, and I'll make sure I respond to them briefly. Okay. So, okay, what's revenue first innovation? The first thing that I want to discuss with you today is that sometimes, especially nowadays, when we're hearing a lot about exponential innovation, exponential technologies, and being more disruptive, et cetera, it's very common for leaders in different sizes of organizations to start thinking about becoming more disruptive and disrupting their industry and disrupting their own business. But nothing is more frustrating than hearing from a boss, a leader, an executive committee, or an executive board that we need to be more disruptive. Okay, right. First of all, let's keep in line that what you want to do is become more disruptive. Give me the resources and give me the support in order to become more disruptive. And how much time are you going to give me? So it's kind of frustrating for managers to hear things like this from a top executive, just hearing saying it out loud in near the water cooler at the office. So let's become more disruptive. Or now that we're starting the second quarter of the year, it's common to have a fireside chat with our teams and start banging our fists on the table, or just having this wishful thinking conversations in which we all say that we need to be more disruptive and we need to start an innovation. We need to start incorporating artificial intelligence with the team into our sales structure, et cetera, et cetera. So, but we don't actually know where to start. So hopefully, what I'm sharing with you today will help you start finding these opportunities or in these minor glimpses where you can start looking for this disruption. But the first thing is that you actually don't know me. If you do, say hi. But my name is Gabriel. People call me by Gabo. And for the next 30 minutes, well, 25 to 20 minutes, I'm going to share with you a little bit more about innovation and its differences with disruption, about brand, people, and operations, about spotting opportunities, and then I'll help you move forward into what's next. Okay. What I've been doing throughout these years, I helped thousands of entrepreneurs and corporate innovators in 4 continents. I've been doing this for 23 years. I started in 2001, working with teams, helping them boost their creative capabilities and skills in order to become more innovative. And then afterwards, I moved more into the innovation process realm within big corporations. The thing that happened on building innovation processes is that you get to structure very rigid processes, and what happened is that it created a silo along with innovation. So I decided to move further into working with people and helping leaders, innovative leaders, move further with their innovation programs, their innovation investments, their innovation creativity, and actually go from idea into business in a faster manner. And then I started working with entrepreneurs, with the Founders Institute in their global network of mentors. And then 2 years ago, I founded White Space Academy, which is a company created to develop innovative skills among managers and leaders, and puts all of this knowledge together to your service, but with one purpose in mind. Okay, it's that we need to make innovation much simpler in order for it to happen. Okay, so without further ado, what's our first topic in our agenda, guys? Innovation is not disruption. Okay, innovation differentiates itself from disruption, because disruption, we can look at it down the line, for the next 24, 36, 52, whatever months you want to call it. Okay, but disruption is about completely changing the rules on the game, and we don't get to be disruptive right out of from the start. Okay, so you don't need to disrupt your industry. You just need to know where to look into your business, into your teams, into your culture, into your brand, your products, in order to start becoming much more innovative. So, and look at this in this way. It's much more like a disciplined investor. Okay, and a disciplined investor, what he or she knows is they they believe in the power of compounding. So, and 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 let's clarify a very specific difference in the world of investment. Okay, compound interest builds upon the previous period. Okay, into the in upon the immediate previous period, and simple interest builds only in the moment, in the zero moment in time. So if today you get to invest $10,000, simple interest will stack over time on that specific amount of money, right? But compounded interest, if you get to invest at a 10% rate every year, so by the next year, the investment will start working not at 10% on $10,000, but on $10,010, right? So it's stacking over over time. And the innovation cannot be treated as simple interest, because you built on whatever you have learned in the period before, or in the previous cycle, right? If we treat innovation as a simple interest, that means that the company doesn't learn, that the company doesn't stack experience nor knowledge, and it remains the same as if it were created just today. Okay, that's why innovation doesn't work as a simple interest. Okay, and sadly, operational systems in culture, in strategy, and in operations are built in a way that sets automatically the company and teams back to day one. Okay, this is all the institutional information, programs, processes, policies, etc., set automatically teams and corporations back to day one. Okay, because they don't stack experience over time. They are not built and they are not designed to learn each month, for example, or each week. Okay, so to sum this up, systems within the corporations as they are built today are built to maintain status quo, not to learn. Okay, and if teams do not learn at every cycle of the business is stuck. Okay, and leaders and managers do not even realize this. What happens is that they're too busy with meetings, with procedures, with policies, with shifting priorities, with putting out fires every day, and no wonder they cannot innovate. So do you find the clash between the aspiration of a leader of becoming much more disruptive and what's actually happening in the business every day? It's not easy for managers to manage this. Okay, so I needed to put this out there for you to start realizing that it is normal for you and your teams not to become even innovative and not to become disruptive, because everything within the business is working against you. Okay, and it is the symptom of inertia, as we discussed in last week's episode. This is the power behind the corporate immune system. Anything that is new to the corporate system is treated as a virus. Okay, that's why the system attacks it. Okay, and we need to acknowledge this if we are trying to become much more innovative and then in the next 36 months become much more disruptive. Okay, so please keep this in mind. Okay, so now going into what got us here today. Okay, what about the brand, the people, and the operations? Okay, brand, people, and operation are just the signals that most teams miss despite working with every day. Okay, when I work with teams, generally inside scale ups, family business, or corporate groups, I look for patterns among these three topics: brand, people, and operations, right? Why brand? Because brand is what the actual the customers are seeing first from your company, from your operations, and from your culture. And then people, because once a customer comes in contact with your brand and with your products, they start interacting with the people. So it is the people who are actually communicating intrinsically or explicitly the message of what the culture is all about. And then the operations is every network within the company and outside of the company, how is it structured in order to drive that value to the customer. Okay, so I start looking for these patterns, and I'm going to share with you today very simple questions that might help you look for opportunities of innovation inside your company in these three topics or in these three main areas. Okay, so the earliest innovation signals are hiding in these three realms. Okay, these aren't problems. Okay, this is very important for you to get. These aren't problems. These are opportunities to simplify, refocus, and completely move fast. This is key for innovation and for innovators and for managers that are trying to rethink how they do their everyday business in order to drive value faster and in a much more smooth way than they did before. So the three realms are, for example, the first one is brand. What we mean by that is that misaligned promises and confusing offers and bloated portfolios or over pompous products are actually creating confusions in the marketplace. Okay, what we mean by people is that low clarity, frictions, decision fatigue, misfiring, cross-functional work, or even shifting priorities actually affect how people work and interact with each other and impedes them from driving value in a better way. And then operations, we mean by this how fast are we able to go through productive and value generating cycles. Okay, but sometimes it gets blocked because we have duplicated work, we have a lot of processes, we had a lot of paperwork, we're complete bureaucrats, and we're very good bureaucrats. Don't misunderstand me. We are very efficient at being very good bureaucrats. Okay, but this needs to change. So how can we start looking into the business now that we know this new glass for seeing how we work every day? Okay, so this is the signal spotting framework that I'm going to visual transfer to you today and share with you today. Okay, let's look at this from the financial perspective. Okay, and let's look at this as if it were a financial statement. Okay, so how does it look? Okay, we have the top line, the sales line, okay, which is much more affected by the brand. Okay, if the brand suffer much more and its products, most likely the sales are going to suffer. Okay, if how we structure our costs and our costs of goods sold, it will affect our margins. Okay, if we are not efficient, if we are not embedding technology, if we are not instructing and training our people on better ways to work faster and generate even greater value with what we already have, most likely our operational expenses will go up and our EBITDA will suffer. And then everything is affected by people. Okay. So let me give you a tool which I call the signal spotting. Okay. It will help you stop chasing new ideas and moving around, chasing the ball like a little dog. Okay. And it will help you start identifying innovation already that is hidden within your business. Okay. So let's go for the first one. Let's go for the brand. Okay. Um, Ask yourselves, where are conversions dropping? Okay. Where is the ball being dropped along the line of conversations with our customers? Okay. Where are customers asking for clarity? Maybe they are not getting the message of what we are trying to convey, right? Maybe we are not clarifying good enough or in a very specific way. How do we add value and how do we are solving their needs with our specific solutions, with products, services, etc., etc. And what are we promising versus what we are delivering? Okay, there may be a gap between what they perceive as value and what we say the value is. Okay, and this is a key concept because our brand is not what we say it is. Our brand is what our customers perceive from us. Okay, so here's a little experiment that at the bottom of the slide that I can share with you is, for example, rework a landing page, create an A/B test of a different version of your landing page, set a very little budget for that, and see how it converts. Or maybe trim your product offering to what actually sells. Okay, we are very accustomed on creating products, especially digital products or services that are very, very bulky, and people get lost on features, characteristics, buttons, navigations, etc., when they are only looking for just one thing. So try trimming your product offering to what it actually sells and see how it goes. Okay, look at your customer journey. Okay, because this maps the places where the ball is being dropped. Okay, maybe people are actually not aware that you exist, so you need to start talking more about the problem to a wider audience instead of just your niche or your ideal client. Okay, then when people are starting to evaluate whether to do business with you or not, what kind of information are they looking for? Are you on the right channels for them to find the information that is relevant to you or to your product? And then when they're about to take a purchase, is it clear for them what are the warranties, how does the product or the services use, what kind of support will they get from your team, etc., etc. And then when they are using it, how do they move forward in order to fulfill or solve for all their needs? And then how do you keep them in the loop and doing business with you? Okay, this is very easy. This is the customer journey is a very common tool that you can use in order to start identifying the places where the ball is being dropped. Okay, how about operational signals? Okay, ask yourselves, what task or report do you do every week that doesn't drive results? Because we sometimes mistake a report for an outcome, and we fill this spreadsheets and PowerPoint slides with a lot of data, and we spend all this time in the Monday meetings, the Monday review meetings, preparing all of these reports, and then when we get to present those reports, nothing happens because we are mistaking a report for an outcome. Okay, and then what is being duplicated within our business systems? Okay, and finally, what's never questioned, or what's sometimes being questioned, but maybe when the question pops up, we just put it in a drawer, or worse, we hide it. Okay, because we fear that the mighty old boss will fire us or will get angry with us. Okay, so the experiment I would advise here is that kill one recurring task and see what happens. Okay, nobody will die. Kill one recurring task, automate another, reframe a third one as a test, and use the test cards that I've been sharing with you from Strategizer. Okay, the main thing here is that you start questioning the status quo, but then you replace it with an experiment and you learn from that experiment. This is the key, right? And then we get down to the people signals. Okay, where are decisions getting stuck? Okay, who owns what? Do they even know? For example, I worked for a client about 2 years ago, and I'm not going to mention their name, but I was greatly surprised when we were trying to set up this landing page to do some experiments with a specific offer that we were creating with the innovation team at that company. And then when I was going through the checklist, one of the points was domain purchase. Okay, we needed to purchase a domain for the landing page to be hosted and use the domain, the URL to drive traffic through our Facebook campaigns. Okay, so this was the answer. We need to wait 2 weeks to purchase the domain because the actual CEO of a 200 people company has the only credit card that is being used to purchase anything like that. So we needed to wait for the CEO for 2 weeks in order to have one domain. Okay. So what's happening there? Okay. Obviously, this is an operational constraint. And there's a person that shouldn't be deciding whether a domain should be purchased or not. The person was not at the office at that moment in time, and we got delayed by 2 weeks. Okay. So that's an operational constraint. That's an operational blocker. Okay. So what is happening inside your brand, your products, your operations, and your people? What are the signals? Okay. Sometimes the easiest and the dumbest questions are the best ones to start spotting innovation opportunities. Okay. And what's next? You don't need a roadmap for disruption. The only thing that you need is rhythm. Okay. You don't need a roadmap. Let me stress this and repeat this. You do not need a roadmap for disruption. The only thing that you need to do is to start and set the rhythm going. Okay. And sometimes also we mistake innovation for generating a lot of ideas. Okay. Sometimes when I work in our trainings or in our workshops, sometimes our workshops look like this. Okay, but that's not the norm. Um, and although sometimes they look like this, innovation is not about generating 100 ideas. Okay, of course, it's about having a lot of ideas, but it's also about having the right inspiration and the right channels to help those ideas get validated, not launched into the market, get validated. Okay, but it's about making one smart adjustment and running it for 2 weeks and then see what do we learn from this. Okay, and then do that again, and you'll see that over time what is being presented as a general behavior that has been accepted for the past 5 years and that has impeded teams or complete organizations, as the example I just shared with you, for buying the or purchasing the landing page domain. You'll see that this kind of stuff, you can erase it in moment one, right? And if you repeat this and document the learnings and share it with the organization over the next or with the team over the next 4 weeks, you'll see massive change. That's why we call that innovation. That's why we say that innovation is like the compound interest, because it'll build on the learnings of the previous experiment. Okay, and this is why we call also that innovation needs to be made simpler. It needs to become practical. It needs to be team driven, and it needs to be measurable. Okay, and to produce experiments, you don't actually need management. Teams are said to be autonomous to take their own decisions and then come back with the learnings, okay, and the outcomes of the experiments. So the rest of the team, their leaders, and the full organization might keep an eye on this knowledge, use those learnings to improve the way they are working. Okay, and this is what we call the feedback loop. We need to understand, what do I plan, what do I do, what do I review, what have I learned, and then we go again. Okay, you need to produce this every week, every cycle, every week, every month, every trimester, every year. And in time, this will become a behavior. It will become a good corporate habit, and it will set you miles away from your competition and from where you started. Okay, this is why we say that innovation is not disruption. Innovation is a discipline, an everyday discipline. So to wrap this up, just keep calm. Okay, pick one area, whether in brand, people, or operations. Spot one friction point, Design a 2-week experiment and track what shifts. Okay. And for that, thank you very much for being here with us today. Keep me posted if you have any questions, any comments. Send me an email if you or a comment in the chat box if you want me to share this presentation with you. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend and happy Easter.